Okay, so we're pretty much doing a prequel series to our ongoing How Many World Wars Have There Really Been series. Yep, we're going old school. Okay, so first off, this video's topic was suggested by Alpha Gamer, so credit where credit's due here. Cyrus the Great was born in 600 BC and was also known as Cyrus II. Who was Cyrus the First? Well, that would be his paternal grandfather, who had been king of the city of Anceint. The first Cyrus was a grandson of Achaemenes, who was supposedly the founder of the Achaemenid dynasty. This becomes important later, but we'll get to that. Cyrus the Great's father was Cambyses I, also king of Anceint. He was also considered king of Persia, but that's a whole nother thing we won't get into. What matters is that in 559 BC, Cambyses died, and Cyrus became king. However, even though he was a king, he still had to pay tribute to the Median Empire ruled by Astyages. See, the three main powers in the area at the time were the Medians, the Lydians, and the NeoBabylonians. The three had peace agreements due to the rulers being brothers-in-law to each other, with Nebuchadnezzar II in charge of NeoBabylon, Kroisos in charge of the Lydians, and Astyages was of course in charge of the Medians. Oh, and I should probably add that supposedly, and this is most likely myth, so take it with a huge grain of salt, Astyages was Cyrus's maternal grandfather, and according to, again, what's probably myth, Astyages had a dream where his grandson would overthrow him. And so he directed one of his generals, Harpagus, or however you pronounce it, to kill the child, but instead he went all Snow White huntsman and couldn't kill an infant. So instead he passed off a stillborn child as the dead Cyrus and left the living child with the dead child's parents. Astyages eventually found this out and, according to the story, had Harpagus' own son killed, then cooked and served to his father at a banquet. Again, none of this is probably true, but put a pin in that for a second. Anyway, Cyrus wasn't particularly a fan of Astyages, and we don't know who attacked first, though most sources point to Astyages being the aggressor. What matters is that in 553,
war were declared.
Yep, he put one of his generals, Harpagus, remember him, in charge of subduing Cyrus, but he turned heel along with quite a few vassals, which were more or less nobles. And after 3 years of warfare, Astyages was captured and Cyrus took over. We're not quite sure what happened to Astyages, but we're pretty sure Cyrus didn't kill him. Did, however, unite the areas of Anceint and Parsa, creating Persia. So in 550 BC, we have the founding of the first Persian, or Achaemenid Empire. Cyrus wasn't a king, he was a Shahanshah, or king of kings, and rather than have kings rule under him, he set up regional governors, or satraps. He would end up conquering some other areas like Sogdia as well, but next up were those pesky folks to the northwest, the Lydians. Lydia, by the way, introduced the world to currency. They were the first to create coins, which were made of electrum, a naturally occurring combination of gold and silver, with a few metals like copper thrown in for good measure. And their king, Kroisos, was the first to have gold coins made. You may have heard the old phrase, richer than Croesus, because he was rich, really rich. But considering his kingdom invented coinage, that's kind of a given. It's kind of like how Mansa Musa had a literal shit ton of gold and jewels that could be mined from within his empire, so yeah, he was filthy rich. Somewhere around 547 BC or so, we're not really sure, Croesus attacked the Persians, probably as revenge for his brother-in-law's defeat, taking the city of Turia and enslaving all of its residents, you know, the normal kind of stuff. Cyrus wasn't very happy about this, so he sent an army to handle Croesus and attempted to get the people of Ionia, which was a region under Lydian control, to revolt, but they refused. This becomes rather important later. The two sides had a bloody but winnerless battle at Turia, and Croesus retreated to the city of Sardes. But the Persians kept at it, and at Timbra, the Persians crushed the Lydians. And fun fact, one of the reasons for this was that Harpagus, yep, him again, came up with the idea of protecting the Persian archers from the Lydian cavalry by surrounding them with camels, because the horses weren't used to their scent and it apparently freaked them out. And yeah, it worked. Also, this is possibly one of the earliest uses of the infantry square. With his army destroyed, Croesus held up in Sardes for 14 days, after which he was captured and eventually treated decently well, cause Cyrus's original plan was to burn him alive, but instead he kept him on as an advisor. Well, we're pretty sure, yeah, we think. Hell, it's like Astyages. We're not 100% sure what exactly happened to him. So most of Lydia fell after Sardes, and the rest was conquered afterward, including Ionia. And then the third and final major conquest of Cyrus was NeoBabylon, the new Babylon as opposed to the old one that had fallen centuries before. And this one was now led by Nabonidus. So this was a little bit different, but starting around 540 BC, for the most part there was only one big battle, the Battle of Opis, which the Persians easily won, and after that every city they came to, including Babylon, just let them take over and didn't try to stop them. Nabonidus was captured. Again, we have no idea what happened to him, and if you're wondering why the Neo-Babylonian army just kind of rolled over, well, Nabonidus had kind of pulled an Akhenaten and tried to shift the focus away from their main god, Marduk, to another god, and it wasn't popular at all. And then here's Cyrus saying that, hey, if you let me in, I'll bring back Marduk. So yeah, the people pretty much welcomed him with open arms. And speaking of religion, one of the biggest things that Cyrus is known for was religious freedom. We aren't sure what religion, if any, he actually practiced. He might have been Zoroastrian, but he allowed people that he conquered to continue to worship as they pleased. This not only helped him in gaining new territory, but it helped him in keeping control of said territory. But around 530 BC, Cyrus died. He may have been killed in battle, he may have been murdered. We're not really sure how he died, but we know that he did in fact die. He kinda had to, and most likely it was around 530 BC. And you may be wondering to yourself, hey, didn't that weird squirrel say that Ionia would be important at some point? And yes, I did. See, a little down the road, Ionia decided to revolt, and a couple of Greek city-states decided to join in to give him a hand, thinking, hey, we can help the Ionians, what's the worst that could happen? Well,